You don't need to predict the market to build real wealth. The uncomfortable truth is that the harder most people try to outsmart the market, the more likely they are to sabotage the very wealth they're chasing. Discipline wins. Not because it's exciting, but because the market has a relentless way of rewarding patience while exposing impulsive decisions. The question is, if the evidence has been hiding in plain sight for decades, why do intelligent people keep making the same costly mistakes? The answer lies in one simple principle that most investors dismiss until it's too late. That is exactly the insight at the heart of the Little Book of Common Sense Investing by John C. Bogle. But before we uncover it, there's a paradox you need to understand. The greatest fortunes in history weren't necessarily built by those who predicted the future best. They were often built by those who accepted that the future couldn't be predicted at all. Every financial headline tells you that tomorrow matters most. Every expert seems to have another forecast. Every market swing creates a new reason to buy, sell, panic, or celebrate. Yet history keeps delivering the same verdict. The overwhelming majority of investors who constantly react to these signals fail to outperform the market over long periods. That's not because they're unintelligent. It's because they're playing a game whose rules they never fully understood. And here's the mystery we'll solve together. If trying harder doesn't produce better investment results, what does? More importantly, why do so few people have the discipline to follow a strategy that repeatedly proves itself over decades? By the end of this journey, one overlooked principle will completely change the way you think about investing, and perhaps about patience itself. The game. Most people lose before they begin. The market doesn't have to beat you if you keep beating yourself. Most people believe investing is about finding the next winning stock. They spend hours reading financial news, watching analysts debate price targets, and searching for hidden opportunities that everyone else has somehow missed. It feels productive. It feels intelligent. But this is where the first costly illusion begins. The stock market isn't a puzzle waiting for one brilliant person to solve. Every trade happens because someone believes they're making the better decision. For every buyer convinced a stock will rise, there's a seller equally convinced it's the right time to let it go. Both cannot consistently be right. Before fees, taxes, and expenses, investors as a whole simply earn the market's return because they collectively are the market. Here's where reality quietly changes everything. The moment costs enter the picture, the game shifts. Brokerage fees may be lower than they once were, but transaction costs, taxes, fund expenses, bid-ask spreads, and the hidden price of constantly changing strategies all begin eating away at returns. One bad decision rarely destroys wealth. Thousands of tiny, seemingly harmless decisions often do. This explains why two people investing the same amount over decades can finish with dramatically different outcomes. It isn't always because one found extraordinary investments. More often, one simply avoided unnecessary mistakes, while the other unknowingly paid for overconfidence. Professional fund managers face the same challenge. They employ teams of analysts, economists, data scientists, and sophisticated technology. Yet study after study has shown that only a small minority consistently outperform broad market indexes over long periods, and even fewer manage to repeat that success decade after decade. What looks like exceptional skill often fades when enough time passes. That realization is uncomfortable because it attacks something deeply human. We want to believe effort guarantees better results. We assume complexity must be superior to simplicity. We equate constant action with progress. Financial markets don't reward activity, they reward efficiency, and that's the distinction almost everyone overlooks. But this only raises an even bigger question. If trying to beat the market becomes such a difficult game, why did one man decide the smartest move wasn't to compete against it at all? The quiet revolution that changed investing forever. The greatest breakthrough wasn't finding a better investment, it was changing the rules of the game. For generations, the investment industry was built on a powerful promise. Somewhere, someone could consistently identify tomorrow's biggest winners. Investors gladly paid high fees because they believed exceptional expertise would produce exceptional returns. Then, one simple question challenged that entire business model. If so few professionals consistently outperform the market after costs, why keep paying for the attempt? That question wasn't just theoretical, it threatened an industry worth billions. When John C. Bogle introduced the first publicly available index fund for individual investors in the 1970s, many critics dismissed it as an admission of defeat. They argued that settling for the market's average return was uninspiring. Newspapers questioned whether anyone would willingly invest in a fund designed not to beat the market. History delivered a very different verdict. Over the following decades, billions became trillions of dollars as investors gradually recognized something extraordinary. Capturing nearly all of the market's return at very low cost often proved more powerful than endlessly chasing the possibility of slightly better performance while accepting much higher expenses. This wasn't merely about lower fees, it was about respecting mathematics instead of fighting it. Every percentage point saved from annual expenses remains invested. Those dollars continue compounding year after year, producing gains that generate even more gains. What appears insignificant in a single year becomes astonishing after 20 or 30 years, because compounding rewards what stays invested, not what constantly moves. Many investors search obsessively for the next company capable of doubling in value. Far fewer ask how much of their own returns quietly disappear through unnecessary costs over an investing lifetime. Yet one of those questions depends on prediction. The other depends entirely on discipline. That's what makes Bogle's philosophy so counterintuitive. It removes the need to be smarter than everyone else. Instead, it asks whether you're willing to avoid the behaviors that repeatedly prevent ordinary people from becoming wealthy. But this still leaves one mystery unresolved. Even after understanding the math, countless investors abandon this approach at the worst possible moments. Why does knowing the right strategy so rarely lead to following it? The answer has far less to do with finance than with human nature, and that's where the most important revelation begins: the invisible battle between your brain and your wealth. The market is rarely your greatest opponent. Your own instincts are. This is the turning point that changes everything. Most people assume successful investing is primarily a financial skill. In reality, it is often an emotional one. The numbers matter, but the decisions behind those numbers matter even more. Markets rise, markets fall, economies expand, recessions arrive, and headlines swing between optimism and fear. None of that is unusual. What repeatedly turns ordinary market cycles into personal financial disasters is how investors react to them. This pattern has played out for generations. When markets soar, confidence quietly transforms into certainty. Risk no longer feels dangerous because recent success creates the illusion that the future is predictable. Investors begin buying assets not because they're following a long-term plan, but because everyone else appears to be getting rich. Then the cycle reverses, prices fall, news becomes darker, predictions grow increasingly catastrophic. The same people who eagerly bought during periods of excitement suddenly become desperate to sell after losses have already occurred. Ironically, they purchase confidence at expensive prices and sell fear at discounted ones. That single behavioral mistake has destroyed more wealth than countless market crashes. The financial crisis of 2008 exposed this reality with painful clarity. Many diversified portfolios eventually recovered and reached new highs in the years that followed. Yet thousands of investors permanently locked in their losses because fear convinced them that getting out felt safer than staying invested. The market eventually recovered. Their discipline never did. This reveals a truth that few investment discussions emphasize enough. Consistency is not tested when everything is going well. It is tested when every emotion tells you to abandon the very strategy that created your progress. This is why discipline isn't simply about resisting temptation. It's about building a system strong enough that temporary emotions never become permanent financial decisions. Wealth grows through compounding, but compounding only works for money that remains invested long enough to benefit from time. And here lies the paradox. Most investors spend years searching for the perfect portfolio while neglecting the one factor capable of destroying every portfolio they ever build: their own behavior. But understanding the problem isn't the same as solving it. The next principle reveals how disciplined investors make good decisions even when emotions are working against them, and why that habit quietly separates lasting wealth from lifelong frustration. The habit that outlasts every market cycle. Long-term success is built long before the market tests you. Knowing that emotions can sabotage your investments is valuable. Building a system that prevents those emotions from taking control is transformational. This is where disciplined investors quietly separate themselves from everyone who relies on willpower alone. Consider two people with identical incomes, identical portfolios, and identical investment opportunities. The first checks the market several times a day. Every headline feels urgent. Every correction looks like a warning. Every rally creates the fear of missing out. Decisions become reactions, and reactions slowly replace strategy. The second follows a simple framework. Contributions happen automatically. The portfolio is diversified. Costs remain low. Rebalancing occurs according to a plan instead of a feeling. Market noise still exists, but it no longer dictates behavior. Years later, the difference between them isn't intelligence. It's accumulated consistency. This is one of the most overlooked lessons behind Bogle's philosophy. Great investing is less about making brilliant decisions and more about reducing the number of unnecessary decisions you have to make in the first place. That sounds almost too simple, which is precisely why so many people underestimate it. The financial industry thrives on activity. News outlets need dramatic headlines. Social media rewards bold predictions. Constant action feels productive because our brains are wired to believe that doing more creates better outcomes. Markets tell a different story. Every unnecessary trade introduces another opportunity to make an emotional mistake. Every attempt to perfectly time the market risks missing the very days that generate a large portion of long-term returns. Small interruptions may seem harmless in the moment, but over decades, they quietly weaken the extraordinary power of compounding. Discipline, then, is not passive. It is an active commitment to ignore distractions that offer excitement but rarely create wealth. And yet, one final question remains. If simplicity, patience, and consistency have proven themselves repeatedly throughout history, why do so few people embrace them until much later in life? The answer brings every idea we've explored together into a single principle that can permanently change the way you think about wealth. Discipline wins long before wealth appears. The greatest investment return is earned before it ever shows up in your account. By this point, a pattern has become impossible to ignore. The market was never asking you to predict the future. It was asking whether you could remain faithful to a sound process while everyone around you chased certainty that doesn't exist. That is why discipline feels unrewarding at first. Its results are invisible. No applause comes from making your monthly investment. No headline celebrates the investor who stayed calm during a market correction. No one notices the decision to ignore the latest prediction or resist the temptation to chase yesterday's top-performing stock. Yet those quiet decisions are exactly where extraordinary wealth begins. This is the irony that traps so many people. They look for dramatic breakthroughs, while wealth is usually built through ordinary actions repeated for extraordinary lengths of time. The compounding that transforms modest savings into significant fortunes doesn't reward brilliance once. It rewards consistency thousands of times. That's why the thumbnail's message, "Discipline wins," is far more than a motivational phrase. It is a mathematical reality. Every year you avoid unnecessary costs. Every moment you resist emotional decisions. Every contribution you make, regardless of market conditions, strengthens the engine that compounds your future. These victories may feel insignificant today, but time has an unusual habit of magnifying disciplined behavior until it becomes impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, those who constantly search for shortcuts often pay a hidden price. They spend decades switching strategies, reacting to fear, following trends, and starting over, never realizing that the missing ingredient was never another investment. It was commitment. And perhaps the most liberating realization of all is this: building real wealth doesn't require you to be the smartest investor in the room. It requires you to keep doing the right things long after the excitement has disappeared. That realization doesn't end our journey. It answers the question that has been quietly following us since the beginning, and in the conclusion, we'll bring every piece together to reveal why accepting what you cannot predict may become the most profitable decision you ever make. The question that opened this journey was deceptively simple. If working harder to predict the market doesn't consistently produce better results, what does? Now the answer is clear. Real wealth isn't built by forecasting the next recession, identifying the next superstar stock, or reacting faster than everyone else. It's built by embracing a principle that feels almost too ordinary to be powerful. Own productive businesses broadly, keep your costs low, stay invested, and let time do the work that emotion never can. This is why so many people spend decades chasing the extraordinary while quietly overlooking the one advantage available to everyone: discipline. The market will continue to fluctuate. Headlines will continue to create urgency. Experts will continue making bold predictions. None of that will ever disappear. But once you understand that uncertainty is not the enemy, you stop treating every market movement as a problem that needs solving. Instead, you begin seeing volatility for what it has always been: the price investors pay for long-term growth. That shift changes more than your portfolio. It changes your relationship with money. Instead of asking, "What should I do today?" you begin asking, "What kind of investor do I want to become over the next 30 years?" That single change in perspective replaces short-term emotion with long-term intention. And perhaps that's John C. Bogle's most enduring lesson. The greatest financial advantage doesn't belong to the person with the most information. It belongs to the person with the discipline to ignore information that doesn't matter. Years from now, you probably won't remember the market's biggest headline from this week. But if you apply the principle you've discovered today, your future self may remember something far more important. The day you stopped trying to predict the market was the day you finally gave your wealth the chance to grow.